How do you let go of people with love? This is a question that I am going to answer for you. I'm going to answer it for you in giving you a framework of how to have a healthy filter for relationships.
Published in the 21st century, my microlith I saw just so you can't see. Your agreement to come in peace is what makes this a safe place for all of us to breathe.
I'm going to tell you a little story. The way that I learned this was because I had to vie for myself and learn to take myself and others at the same time, because my whole mental construct of my entire being was a lie. And I had to come back from believing in all of the false views of my current reality to be and experience the opposite, so that I could be able to live my life and live my truth, because I was living my life as a slave to other people's version of reality. And I had to change that layer by layer by layer by layer by layer. It was like when I figured out that my life was a lie, the entire world dome of the simulation that I was living in cracked, and it broke, and it shattered, and it fell apart. And it, as if that whole world were a demonstration of all the pieces that I had left behind in becoming somebody that I was not, by peeling off layers and pieces of my skin that I had to let go of, that was actually my protective coating, my boundary, my sense of self. I had to figure out, because people were sticking their dirty fingers inside of me, and I was giving them space and room for them to manipulate my brain, because the bubble, that dome that was around my brain and my sense of self, had shrunk so much that my brain could easily be manipulated, right? So I had to relearn and figure myself out by following the path backwards of remembering and relearning what would make my soul complete, by picking up those scraps of skin and pasting them back onto myself, so that I could feel my sense of self protected, identify with what actually mattered, with what was actually useful for my betterment. Useful is such an incredible word to describe what is actually useful to know, to learn, to practice, to discipline yourself with, to implement for your betterment. When it comes to being manipulated, when it comes to being controlled, when it comes to finding beliefs that you can actually align to action, things that are actionable in your life, in your relationships, for your own best interests first. Because you have to love yourself and others too, and the others should come secondarily. You have to choose yourself first, what is actually useful for your betterment. And if you can choose to love others at the same time, it is a double positive. But first you have to get one positive right. You don't want to be doing the double negatives where you don't serve yourself and you don't serve others. But you at least have to start with serving yourself, with following through with the commitment to do what is right for you. And then you can do what is right for other people, because you consciously know inside of your heart what is good for you and how to treat yourself. If you would love yourself, you now know how to treat others and love them, right? And every decision that you make like this, where you're trying to take both of you at the same time, but in accordance with their will, they may not want to take you at the same time, then you have to accept that judgment. Hey, I gave you the option. I gave you the option for us to both meet in the middle, and for us to both decide what is better for the both of us. And you said no. And I wanted to do this. I said yes. But since you're not going to show up and meet me in the middle, I now have to say no, and it's okay. Because it is love in action. It is accountability, as I described or define accountability. It is responsibility with others. You see, accountability and responsibility has to do with personal responsibility, right? But accountability, in my mind, is with others. It actually includes another party. Accountability is more than about I. It's actually about we, right? And this is about who we be. So when you take into account love in action, accountability is love in action, in the way that I define it. It's an incredible value. I even had an accountable Aunt V friend, but none of you are going to know what that is unless if you know who Gary V is and his NFT project. But anyways, the most important thing that I want you to take from this in this structure is what I call the social contract. It is a makeup of 4 agreements, 4 rules, 4 responsibilities that you take when you are looking into a relationship that is a healthy filter for relationships that you would agree to have with others. And the way that you can actually make this tangible is to actually have it be an agreement. Written, documented, signed, an agreement that you make with somebody else. You make with yourself and you make with somebody else. The both of you agree to it. And here are these 4 agreements. Otherwise, if you don't make those agreements, then you can look at it in a way where, analyzing the relationship and see if it's good for you, okay? Agreement number 1 is, I am responsible for my own emotions. This is of the social contract. I am responsible for my own emotions. We are all responsible for our own emotions. Nobody else is responsible for your emotions. Nobody else can literally practice whatever emotions you have inside of you. They can try and affect you, but at the end of the day, the reality is you are allowing somebody else to influence you if you are not in control of your emotions. Everything is energy. Consider energy emotion. Energy is emotion, or energy in motion, right? So there is this field, there's this energetic field that we are all taking part in. And this field is basically filled with energy or information. There's information in the space. When you are offended or you allow somebody else to control you or manipulate you or hurt you, it is because you allow them to influence your energetic body, that which is you, right? You allow them to stick their dirty fingers inside of your dome, your bubble that is around you. And you allow that interaction to change the energy and the information that you have within this space, your holy temple, right? And it is only by allowing that in that you become affected. And you change your mental space, your emotional space, your spiritual, physical, vibrational space, right? Because you allow it to happen. So you have to learn and develop self-awareness to become responsible for your own emotions, to become responsible for who you are in accountability with others. And the way that you do that is by going layer by layer by layer of figuring out what does serve you, what does not serve you. So that's why you have to be responsible for your own emotions. Because if you haven't started there with self-responsibility and the courage to confront that and take yourself as love in action, yourself first, then you haven't developed a sense of self or the boundary to be able to take others. You're going to start with valuing your own opinion. You're going to start with valuing yourself when you are in danger, when you're in survival mode. And you're going to start with trying to figure out and piece together what your identity is, what morality means to you, what are these values, and how do they contribute to your being a better version of yourself, okay? I am responsible for my own emotions. That's agreement number 1 of the social contract. I have 2 minutes left to explain this. Agreement number 2 is I am willing to improve and accept feedback. So that means you also have to love others. You have to value their point of view. You have to be willing to see the positive within them rather than the negative and being defensive. You're opening yourself up. The more openness rather than constricted you are, the more you're able to engage energetically and change, because the universe is trying to create change through your interactions, be that through pain, joy, whatever. If you experience pain, the pain is there to serve you and to redirect you toward a new solution. So you need to be grateful for the pain, accept where you are, and move forward again and again and again and again and again, and literally enjoy loving the process of experiencing pain, transmuting pain into wisdom. Got it? Okay. Agreement number 3. I will communicate to connect with people so I can be understood. I will communicate to connect with people so I can be understood. When it is about you choose to take care of yourself, right? When it is about we, you choose to take care of others. There's a certain limit or expectation to connecting with others that you can agree to. And where it becomes we, it actually becomes a problem, because you are giving away your happiness to other people. Hey man, you are in the wrong place at the wrong time. You are giving your happiness away to other people, and when you do that, it's not good, because essentially you are over communicating yourself to be understood by somebody else. In other words, you are trying to have it be about we, and you you are trying to get somebody to fill your void, right? You're trying to overly communicate and have somebody connect with you and meet your needs, where you have to meet your needs yourself. And that's where this whole conversation started. That's where this whole talk came into the picture, is when you are trying to wait on somebody else's terms. You're waiting for them to align with you, right? But you need other people. You need to align with yourself, and you need other people to align with you. It's just us in our human nature trying to get our needs met, right? And people who are spiritually conflicted, or who have delved into this pathway of authenticity and following their authenticity and doing the right thing, right? They have constructed a character based around having unmet needs, not having their needs met. So therefore they have an obsession with trying to find people who are genuine, who are authentic, who have depth, emotional values that they can relate to and connect. They are obsessed because they have a lifetime supply of having their needs unmet. People who delve into this path do not forego it without having struggled through living in this human experience, right? So, agreement number 3 of the social contract, the social contract, not a social contract, not social contract, the social contract. This is my creation. Agreement number 3 is I will communicate to connect with people so I can be understood. Again, when it is about we, you are over communicating. You are trying to connect. You are doing whatever you have to get somebody else to see your point of view, for you to be seen. It's so important. This is like pain and isolation. It's a living hell as opposed to heaven and hell being a mindset. Pain and isolation is a living hell. You need validation. You need to feel that you're real. If you don't have an emotional reflection, you don't feel that you're real. You're looking at a white wall. You're talking to a white wall. White wall says nothing. You don't exist. You live in white wall. You live in room, right? Room has 4 corners, 4 white walls, or whatever, 6 white walls, whatever it's going to be, and there's no reaction. Somebody smashes a truck through that white wall. That room is no longer room. It is wow. 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 There's a whole world out there that existed and you never knew about it, right? Somebody else gave you an emotional reflection, said what you're viewing is not real. What you're viewing, it is not the reality that we all see and perceive. Hey, let me emotionally check you here. Okay? And then you position yourself into checkmate, you do what you think is right? So, when you overly communicate yourself, you're giving your happiness away. You are trying to have somebody else fill your container. When it is about I, you take your power back. You are communicating to connect with people so you can be understood. Okay? Otherwise, sometimes people communicate in a way where they are overly communicating, in a way where the other person doesn't want to hear them. They actually don't think it's a good idea to listen to their point of view, right? This is called toxic imposing. You are imposing with a toxic behavior, and of course that's not a term, toxic imposing, but I'm saying it is. You are imposing your view onto somebody else. You are imposing your energy onto their energetic field. You are overcoming their boundaries or their sense of self by placing your sense of self into their field and their human experience and saying, I belong here. You have to listen to me. You have to change like I want you to change, or else. Not good. Not good. So that is also negative, right? There's different patterns to this behavior, but simply put, somebody is imposing upon you, or you are placing them on a pedestal. You are placing them on a pedestal, or the pedestal is being placed on you. Does that make sense? This is what narcissistic parents do. They place you on a pedestal and they praise you as a child, and they adore you. They admire you. Whatever it may be that makes you become this higher version of yourself that you create. Or they smash you down and say you ain't worth anything. Okay? Reversing this whole pattern of narcissistic abuse, this whole narcissistic cycle is choosing to take yourself and others at the same time. My whole process, all of my teachings right now, and choosing to love yourself, to take yourself and others at the same time, right? It is reversing this pattern of narcissism. It is giving people the power and the ability to be able to target the narcissism within themselves and to do something about it, to create change, healing themselves around their ability to take themselves and others at the same time. In other words, to love yourself and others at the same time, right? To choose their best interests and yours at the same time, and to make decisions and act upon that at the same time. Like, that's the whole practice of so many different spiritual practices, but that is at the core of what it is that I teach in helping you reprogram and rewire your mind, right? The social contract is one healthy filter for relationships, or four that helps contribute to that, but it's all connected together, okay? So, number 3, I will communicate to connect with people so I can be understood. When it's about we, it is toxic for reasons of imposing onto others, or needing the validation and acceptance of others, or connection from others, so that you give your happiness away, right? When it's about I, you are communicating to connect with people so I can be understood, right? That allows you to validate yourself. If their version of reality is in opposition and it's not in alignment with you, you say, I'm going to love myself through this action now. I attempted to love you in this action, but now I have to love myself. I have to do what's best for me. And that makes sense. That's how you make and take actions while loving people. And if you have to let go, then it's not about we anymore. I will communicate to connect with people so I can be understood instead of we can be understood. I will communicate to connect with people so we can be understood. It is about I can be understood. The reason for this is you can walk away. They can walk away. You both have to be able to walk away. Or you have to make an agreement with somebody where or it has to be consensual that you can walk away instead of getting screamed at, right? Okay? This person that's imposing upon you, you have to be able to go into your room. They have to be able to go into their room. They have to self-reflect if they're going crazy. And they have to come back. And it makes sense for them to come back feeling better, having more sense within their wits to come back to the conversation and be like, hey, something wasn't so right here, and I treated you this way, and it didn't make you feel comfortable, and, that wasn't any way to treat you, so I'm sorry. And I would hope that by coming back and communicating in this calm and self-reflected manner that we can actually come to a conclusion or a solution together, right? Thank you for understanding. It was really hard for me at this time. Okay? Simple. Right? Everybody needs to be able to do that because you're responsible for your own emotions. You cannot seek the validation and the responsibility from within your relationships for somebody to resolve something for you. There's a great level of dependency there, and I'm not going to define codependence, but there's a huge level of dependency on somebody else to create this energetic change within you that you should not be rely on other humans to do, because you are responsible for your emotions, right? You're willing to improve and accept feedback. You're willing to hear their point of view, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be valid for you. Everybody has their own point of reference, their own unique personal truth, and they have to abide by that, right? That can be changed, that can be transformed by other people, but at the end of the day, people are going to do what makes them feel better. If they are not ready to hear the information that you have to share, and they cannot accept it, and they do not find it wise to do so, and they're not within alignment on their current path, then they won't do so. You can't change people like that. They have to change themselves. You can give them interactions here and there that can give them a reminder of what it is that's necessary to confront or have self-compassion for, but you cannot change them. They will do what they have to do. So that's why agreement number 3 is so important, because we have to be able to walk away from conflict transformation if it's not going to work for us. And we have to be able to say, I'm going to love myself moving forward, and I'm going to walk away from even having an entire relationship or engagement with that person. Because that's what happens when our truths don't agree to a certain point. If it's a big enough thing, big enough point, then we just will agree to separate, right? And that's better for us. Agreement number 4 is an acceptance of this family. I will also raise someone else. The reason why this is so vitally important is because you are choosing to love somebody else. They're choosing to raise, uplift them energetically. It is the human spirit. It is the uplifting of the human spirit that is what we can call justice. To do the right thing. Martin Luther King Jr. has a quote, something along the lines of that. Any injustice has to do with the defiance or something that does not uplift the human spirit. And it's really fascinating because we're all just trying to get through life without getting hurt, right? We're all just trying to get through life without getting hurt. If we had a little support, a little mentorship, a little bit of a point of view that would comfort us, validate us, love us, accept our truths, see us, which is like anything within, somebody who's trying to be seen has everything to do with narcissism in and of itself. And a lot of what most human needs has to do with is the social element of relationships, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs is flawed because it only focuses on the self, and it doesn't idealize the idea that we actually, as social creatures, need to have relationships and connection with that. Like, you don't see people who are committing suicide because they don't have a home and food. You see them committing suicide because they're isolated emotionally and they don't have anybody who actually sees, hears, feels, or deeply understands them, right? And in essence, when somebody commits suicide, somebody was to blame, right? Because nobody was there to be able to actually know what they were going through, and so they committed suicide because of it, right? And everybody's shocked when they find out, oh, I didn't know. But there's a reason, right? So Maslow got this wrong and very much in the social element of us being as humans. It is the foundation that we need human connection, right? So it's fascinating that an acceptance of this family, I'll also raise someone else, is that service and fulfillment and choosing to add value to other people's lives and choosing to do the right thing and choosing to, create change in a way that you are uplifting the human spirit. You have this sense of service and you have this sense of wanting to do right by other people and wanting to help them evolve rather than devolve, and choose to upgrade them rather than degrade them. In the process, you are doing the right thing. You are choosing to love them, right? You're taking them under your wing and you're saying, hey, I love you, and so in loving you, I wouldn't want to hurt you. I would only want to do the right thing by you. So let me try and view all my relationships as I can love you in my interactions. I'm going to choose to do so. And if we have a conflict where I am not doing such a thing, then you will keep me in check and tell me, hey, this doesn't make me feel so good. Could you try doing this? And I will keep you in check if you did that to me. And we're going to vibe and we're going to connect, so long as it actually makes sense for the individual to listen and to agree. You can keep that going, you can keep that going, you can keep that going, and that's how you remain in alignment with people. You don't wait on other people's terms to create alignment, right? Anytime there is misalignment, anytime there is resistance, you address the resistance immediately. You find ways to resolve that conflict immediately. Otherwise, it's like you are in a relationship with somebody whom you can't trust and you don't feel safe around, right? Safety is always about the other person. So if you can commit to experiencing safety within your relationships and have a conversational basis where you agree to this social contract, the social contract with people, and you choose to align and choose to find alignment, before things get out of hand and you're like, hey, things really aren't working out, you gotta go, then you can always remain on the same page. And essentially alignment and relationships, it's always about being on the same page, right? Before all these conflicts happen, before they evolve to something where it's like, dang, man, we cannot tolerate this anymore, and you have to eject somebody from your life in a way that is extremely painful, right? If you were to come to an agreement consistently, it wouldn't have to be such an incompatibility. You would come to an agreement, like you would both agree that it would be better to part ways, right? Well, in acceptance of this family, I'll also raise someone else. You're basically saying, I'm committed to you, you're committed to me. We're both going to raise and uplift each other. And in a tangible way, when it comes to actually issuing this contract, when it comes to the family of truth I want to create, people will be uplifting at least one person and mentoring them and allowing them into this massive family of truth about souls, right? And in that very tangible way, we're going to create a movement together. We're actually going to create a family where people see each other's vulnerabilities and their truths and love them for who they are. So the social contract is one piece and one element to, creating a worldwide movement about truth and unity. And truth and unity, when they come together, is about love. Those parts of yourself that you're not able to accept, those parts that are in opposition within you, they are polar opposites. You're choosing to find ways to unify those parts, truth and unity, right? By shining light into them and allowing the shadow to show you what it is you need to accept, what it is you need to stop throwing into the trash can of self-doubt and allow yourself to confront the darkness and face the fear and become whole in who you are, right? In your entire being. And by choosing self-love, you are then better able to love others. So all of my work is about this, and relational trauma. You cannot heal relational trauma outside of the context of relationships. So it's exposing you to relationships. It's exposing you to interactions with your personal truth and the universal truth, and enabling, at the heart of that, heart-centered awareness, so that you can choose to love in all of your actions, right? Choose to be of service for the highest good of all beings or better. That's what I'm doing. The social contract is a wonderful part of that. 4 agreements, let me repeat them for you. Number 1, if you want to agree to these, you can. Repeat them back to me in acknowledgement, agreement, and acceptance of. Number 1, I am responsible for my own emotions. Number 2, I am willing to improve and accept feedback. Number 3, I will communicate to connect with people so I can be understood. Number 4, in acceptance of this family, I will also raise someone else. Congratulations to your agreement with the social contract and in being a part of this family of truth. I love you, beautiful soul. All 4 of those agreements work together to create a healthy, happy relationship. And I don't think it's breakable. If it's breakable, you tell me. But man, when it comes to remaining in alignment and loving each other, this really is not about being above one another. It's about having connection. Real, true connection. Where we can love as we would love ourselves. Actually doing the work to be able to do so. I love you, beautiful soul. And keep taking care of the world, okay? Bye-bye. No bye-bye, ever. I don't ever say bye-bye, because we don't say bye around here.